We're ready to begin with the Michigan Wolverines, the number 3 seed in the West Region. Wolverines will play tomorrow night's final game at 8:50 against University of Montana. At this time, we'll take questions. If you have a question, again, raise your hand. We'll get right to you. Go to the aisle here.
You guys have obviously had a couple of days off, or actually 10 full days off before your next game. How have you guys been staying fresh, and do you feel the layoff's going to affect you at all? I guess we'll go with Mo first.
I think obviously we enjoyed the Big Ten championship a little bit for a couple of days, but then we didn't waste too much time and got to back to the gym as quick as possible. And yeah, it's a great challenge waiting for us on tomorrow, and we had a lot of work obviously to do.
Okay, Mohammed.
Yeah, like Mo said, we enjoyed our championship, and then we got back to work. We took much-needed rest. That we had a tough end of the season, a lot of games back-to-back, and we took the much-needed rest and got back to work and started focusing on Montana.
Duncan?
Like they both said, got some rest, and then, stayed sharp, tried to compete, and then clean up some things that we wanted to work on. And then once we found out, where we were playing and who we were playing, we started focusing on them.
Questions on the aisle here?
I'm covering Montana. Just a question for you guys. For them, when the selection show happens and they see you guys pop up, they might be familiar with you guys because they get to watch you on national television. What is it like for you guys when you see Montana, a team that you probably never seen or heard much of before?
We're going to start with Duncan, then Mo, then Mohammed.
Well, first and foremost, we knew they were a really good team. You don't win your regular season conference and then also win the conference tournament as well without being a good team. So, 26, 27 wins, whatever they have. So, we have a lot of respect for them. But, the next couple of days after Selection Sunday, we're, kind of getting used to them, figuring out personnel and tendencies and stuff like that.
Yeah, similar to what Duncan said. I wasn't necessarily familiar with the name, but the players at first. But I looked at the wins. That was like kind of the key number, and then I figured out that they won both the regular season and the tournament. So that's a great accomplishment, and they deserve a lot of respect. So yeah, it's a great challenge.
Yeah, like they both said, we saw that they were a great team, winning your season championship and then the conference championship. So you knew there was a good team. I've actually have a friend from back home that's a big Montana fan, so he retweets stuff on Twitter all the time. So I see you guys pop up, and sometimes.
Front.
Hi, Frank Agola with the Missoulian. You guys are being picked to win this game and go far in the tournament. Just what's the mindset heading into this first game?
We're going to again start with Duncan, Mo, and then Mohammed.
We're focused right now on getting one tomorrow. Like we just said, we know this is a really good Montana team that's won a lot of games this year. So, first and foremost, we're focused on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't think we necessarily worried about who's picking who. We just focused on the next day and the next challenge and approach every game as it's a championship game, and then we see. But it doesn't matter to us who's picking who.
As they both said, we just can't get ahead of ourselves. We have to focus on the task ahead, and that's Montana, and that's all we're focused on.
On the side on the far right, yeah, go ahead.
Vince Bagby with KECI TV. For you guys, the short turnaround you have had to see film on Montana, what stands out? Why do you think they had such a good regular season and conference tournament to be a good basketball team this year?
Okay. Again, Duncan, Mo, and then Mohammed.
First and foremost, they're talented, and they play really hard. And defensively, they mix it up, throw different stuff at you. So, that'll be a challenge for us to adjust into that, get up in passing lanes, force turnovers, and they play at a good pace. So, these are all things that we tried to, simulate and practice these last couple of days, and, hopefully we'll be ready for it tomorrow.
I think they have a really good balance between outside and inside game with a very strong and athletic backcourt and a really good inside game as well. So, as Duncan said, they're very challenging to guard, and yeah, they're a good challenge.
Just like Mo said, they have a great balance between guard play and inside play, and I think leadership. They have a lot of experienced players, definitely helps, and it'll propose a tough challenge for us.
The aisle.
Riley Corcoran with Montana Radio. So with their defensive scheme, obviously that's their calling card. Could you guys compare their style a little bit, what you've seen on film, to anyone that you've played maybe in the Big Ten or all season long?
Duncan, Mo, Mohammed.
Yeah, a little bit with Illinois in our conference. Just how they get up in passing lanes, make catches really tough, and then we'll blitz ball screens periodically. So we look back on that film and how we fared against them. We learned a lot from that game as well, playing against Illinois, because they're a tough team to play against, like Montana is as well. So hopefully that experience we gain will help us tomorrow.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing really to add to that. Illinois is, pretty simple answer.
You have anything, Mohammed?
Pretty much Illinois, same thing.
Stay in the aisle.
Not necessarily a basketball question, but do you guys know or can say anything about the state of Montana in general? Just curious.
We'll go with Duncan again.
It's got some mountains. I know that. It's got some great outdoors. I'm from New Hampshire, so I appreciate that sort of stuff. Never been there, but maybe I'll get to go at some point.
Yeah, I just knew that it was in the west, up northwest, right? And I kind of connected it to mountains as well, so that was what I knew.
I can't say I know much. I'm guessing there's a lot of grizzly bears there. Maybe that's my only guess, but don't know too much.
Still have about 5 minutes left. Any other questions? Okay.
Mohammed, just going back to what you said earlier, I was curious about your friend that tweets about Montana and what that connection is.
He's actually just a friend from a school around the city of Allentown, where I'm from, in Pennsylvania. And, he just always tweets about Montana sports in general, football and basketball. And so I always just see his tweets. We don't really talk much, but I always just see it on my Twitter feed.
Any last questions? Otherwise, we'll dismiss our student athletes. Okay, guys, best of luck tomorrow night. Thank you very much. Okay, we're ready to proceed to Michigan head coach John Beilein. We understand, Coach, your first trip ever to the city of Wichita.
I tell you right away, our reception yesterday was terrific. Coming to the hotel, and got some great weather. We've had a pretty busy winter in Michigan, and the weather's great. So we're looking forward to this experience.
Okay, at this time, we're opening up for questions, and again, a reminder: no recording of any video recording. If you have a question, raise your hand. Our microphone holders will come to you.
Frank Agola with the Missoulian covering Montana. With the long layoff for your team, where do you feel they're at mentally and physically heading in?
Yeah, that's probably been the most asked question, and rightfully so, because I think most of the power conferences you're used to, some rhythm here. But I think back, Wichita State's been doing it for years when they're in the Missouri Valley, and Gonzaga's been doing it out in the West Coast Conference. We used it as a time we took 3 days off in the week, but never 2 in a row. We really worked back at some things that we wanted to work at. We tried to play a scrimmage on Friday that simulated a game, and I'll be interested to see how we do, but it will not become an excuse no matter what the results are.
In the aisle.
Riley Corcoran with Montana Radio. In your 40 years of coaching, have you ever had a 10-day layoff between games in the middle of a season?
Yeah, when I was both at Richmond and Canisius, and in fact, a couple of times at Canisius and Richmond, we were in the NIT as well. So it's happened 5 or 6 times. And you just go through it, but I've always looked at it as this is a great time for us to get healthy, and it's a great time for us to work with our guys, especially the young ones. It's almost like, you have the practice before a bowl game in football. It's great times to develop your team. So we were able to do some things with some of our younger guys that in 20 hours a week that were pretty good. Watch some film, but also really get rest for some of these young men.
On the right side aisle, then we'll come up front.
Coach, in the time you've had to prepare for Montana, what jumps out at you? Any player specifically or style of play that makes them tough?
This is as solid a team as there is anywhere. They're only playing 7 people. But I'm telling you, those 7 are like they fit in the pieces perfectly. Really impressed. They remind me of we had 2 great teams that made the NCAA from Canisius and from Richmond. I think Richmond actually was a 14 seed, and we upset South Carolina, who was a 3 seed. And they really have outstanding guards. They have just the right pieces up front, right? A mix of inside, outside. The style's terrific, and they really guard you. They create turnovers, which is something that is always concerning to a coach. We're really good at not turning the ball over. They're really good at creating them. So that's going to be a big battle to watch tomorrow.
Go on the right side here, front. Yeah, and then we'll get back to you.
And Coach Mark Ziegler from San Diego Union Tribune. Obviously, I know you don't want you to think too far ahead. Chance you could play San Diego State in a program built by Steve Fisher. He's retired now. I think he's been back on Michigan's campus once since he was fired, and that was for Bo Schembechler's funeral. Will you work publicly? Do you think it's time for him to maybe be recognized for his contributions to the university? Will you work maybe to bring him back now that he's retired?
Steve Fisher and I have been friends went back when he was the Michigan coach, and he has gone out of his way over and over again to when I'm on the road, I'm traveling, whatever, the Nike trips. We have actually spent a lot of time together. Steve's a close friend, and I know that's in the plans. I'd rather keep it right with their area. He's a great friend, and he did a fantastic job at Michigan, and he's a great friend of mine. And we're always thinking of how we can bring former coaches and former players back. We've really done a great job. He's been coaching at San Diego State, right? So he could never make it back to some of our reunions. That's something we're very hopeful to do in the future.
Okay, now we're going to go right up here front, and then we get over to the left side.
Coach Frank Agola from the Missoulian. When you were at West Virginia, you guys played Montana in a tournament down in Florida when Wayne Tinkle was the head coach.
Yeah.
That was your last year at West Virginia. So how would you say you've evolved as a coach since then? And do you have any stories about Wayne or any other Montana coaches you might know?
No, that was when we were probably playing half the game 1-3-1 zone. Now we call the 1-3-1 zone. It's Bigfoot. Everybody talks about it, and nobody sees it anymore. And so it is. We did a lot of that. The only reason I'm still coaching some 43 years later is because we changed like crazy. So that is 11 years ago, right? So if you looked at our teams now and 11 years ago, they're very different. If you looked at them 22 years ago, they're a lot different than they were 11 years ago. And that's what you have to do if you're a coach. You got to continue to grow, and you got to keep up with the game.
Okay, now we'll go left side on the aisle. And then we'll go across. When
Coach Sean Rainey with ABC Fox Montana. Obviously, the Grizz are excited to be here at this stage. What do you remember from being at the smaller schools, making the NCAA tournament? How special it is?
Well, they have some of the places I had been at, especially Canisius. I think they've only gone one time in 50 years or something. So it was really a unique experience. Montana's got a great tradition of being one of the tops in the Big Sky, and so and Wayne Tickle is a friend of mine, and he texted me right away as soon as he saw the draw and say, take it easy on the Grizz. I said, I don't think we have to worry about that. They're a very good team. So it is it's a great experience, and they should go in it to win it because they have talent. And I think most teams, that's the only approach you can take right now is so many things can happen. And I'm sure their fans are excited, just like the Michigan fans are excited. And it should be a great game.
Now we'll go across, and then we'll go back.
Coach, your team has struggled at the free throw line this season, and now at least with the pressure situation of being in the big dance. What's your approach with free throw shooting through squad? Are you a coach that doesn't talk about it? Are you worried about it at all going into the matchup in this kind of situation?
No, we just keep working at it. We don't talk about it a lot. We just work at it. And there's some things that are evolving in the right direction, but guys, 50% guys aren't going to go to 80 overnight. But I thought in the Big Ten tournament, when the pressure was on, 21,000, 20,000, whatever it was, playing Purdue and Michigan State, Nebraska, all teams that are either on the bubble or NCAA. Iowa, we had to win an overtime game. We weren't super. Like last year's team was tremendous, but we got enough done. So hopefully we've worked hard enough on it, and they can go up there and get the job done because it's not good to have a bad foul shooting team at this time of the year.
We're going to go on the left, right there in the blue, and then we'll go over across the way here.
Coach Derek Berkeley with KPAX TV. The players that came up for you have all played multiple games in this tournament before. Montana has nobody who's played in an NCAA tournament. How much of a advantage or how much of a factor does that play in here?
Well, we got three guys that have played really in NCAA. Xavier Simpson played a little bit last year, but we have really three guys. So we got some young guys now too that are getting in there for the first time. We lost four of our top six from last year's team. 4 of our top 7, I guess you would say. So we're a little bit new in it in some areas, but I can't tell you, just like with Montana, once you go through a Big Ten tournament, a Big Sky tournament, they had to win 3 in a row. We had to win 4 in a row. The NCAA tournament is certainly special, but I don't think these kids are have to get ready for it now. They're already ready. They're seasoned, and by playing in such high leverage situations like they were. I mean, it's not like they were going to get an at-large bid, right? They might have deserved one, but they're not like getting an at-large bid. They've played some pressure games. They're ready, and we went in there really to win 4 in a row. You got to have special kids, and they did that.
On the right, on the aisle there.
Kyle Rowland, Toledo Blade. 14 seeds have had some success here in recent years. You're one coach that has experienced that. What makes them such difficult teams to knock out?
Really good players. It's a big thing. If you have really good players that perform well, that's a big difference. I think that and many times it's about a matchup because everybody will. You'll always see the upsets. See, to me, I think there's a big difference between 1 and 16, and there might not be, right? Penn is a really good team. Right, Penn's a really good team, and Kansas is a really good team, but there may be some big differences there. Once they start seeding these teams, 2 through 6, and 7 through 10, and then 10 through 14, there's very little difference in those areas, and so sometimes it's just a matter of the matchups were good. or maybe your team's had more experience in it. So that's why it's so popular. This is very unpredictable, and teams might have success, but not success like their John Wooden success, that they're always in the Final Four. People get really good teams are out in this first weekend.
Other questions? Okay, stay on the right side by the aisle.
Coach Vince Bagby with KECI TV. Whether you're a 3 seed or a 14 seed, to get to this point in the tournament is fun for these student athletes to be a part of this tournament. As a coach, what's your message between allowing them to enjoy themselves and have fun and also treat it like business and get some wins?
Yeah, that's a good question, because as coaches we have to guard against that. But it is still business right now for us, and so I think we've been able to do that when we travel on the road and we do whatever. Our kids are in an incredible hotel here, right? They're gonna do a shoot around today in front of a lot of people. They're playing on national TV. I think they understand that and enjoy that. But this is not about having fun. This is about the fun comes after you win, and our kids have to be focused on doing their very best. And winning does not come just by saying it. Winning comes because you focus just on doing your best. And it's all I want our kids to play their best. And then if the end result is a win, then we have fun.
I have time for a couple more before you begin practice. Any other questions out there? Okay,
thanks,
Coach,
everyone.
best of luck. Thank you. San Diego State players at 4:15. Hold on, you can, yeah, I'll